Get ready for this. I've got Ray from Two Unlimited here.
Simone. Oh, no. That's been a little while.
Oh my God, it's so funny. It's been so long.
Sure.
Way back when, we hang out a little bit, right? Even privately.
Yeah. We used to go to the race. We used to go to London till the late hours. I mean, we never stopped.
Do you remember? Remember, we had a really strange night one night when I woke up in an ambulance.
That's true.
With you.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't want to mention it because I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it, but it's always kept in my mind,
It's funny, right? And I wake up and I've got some neck brace on, and there was you. If I'm remembering right, I think you were sitting in the ambulance clutching a bottle of vodka.
Yeah. I think we just ordered the second bottle or something. I didn't want to lose it, so I just took it with me. I thought, Simone, she will be all right. So in a couple of minutes, we'll be partying on. So
yeah. So let me just explain what happened. So I've got slight epilepsy, which only gets brought on by strobes. But we were in a club or just entering a club, and there was a strobe, and so I collapsed. But the funny thing is, when that happens, yes, I collapse, but by the time I come round, I'm completely normal. So this is what happens. So I wake up in this ambulance. I'm totally fine again. I've got some weird neck brace on, and there's Ray sitting there. There's you with the bottle of vodka. So I think we did go to the hospital. I think we already started to drink back in the waiting room, and then just went, "Oh, this is stupid. I don't even need to see anyone. I'm fine." So we went back home and continue drinking.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I do remember that because it was quite public, right? With me just going down so publicly, the our press department at the time decided that, we better get ahead of the story and actually share it with the press before they come up with another reason of why I collapsed, because it wasn't like I wasn't very drunk. It literally was the light.
Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
And I wasn't on drugs. I literally just collapsed because of that. So yeah, we did have to put it in the press. The press, by the way, they did come up with some crazy stories because, there was also press saying that me and you were dating, which we weren't.
That's right. No, we weren't.
Right? No,
just real friends from Holland, so.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Two young Dutch people in a very bizarre world, right? I mean, how bizarre was that that time?
Yeah, it was a great time.
Especially for you.
Oh, yeah, we've been traveling around the world by then already. But, of course, kind of our home base was England because, we work with PWL and everything was kind of coordinated from the PWL offices in London. So even if we would go to Japan for a tour or we had to do the next video, I mean, most of the videos we did in London. We did 2 in Australia, which was No One and The Magic Friend. Right. For the rest, we shot everything in London, So it was almost like we were living in England. I was more in England than I was in Holland back then, So.
Oh wow! Yeah, let me just see. There's a lot of interesting quotes. Let me see if I can find. You know what? Let me find. I'm going to play a quote for you, or not a quote, a little piece out of an old magazine article. And this was actually about your life just before you joined Two Unlimited. So let me just do the screen.
NME, 18th of September 1993. Get ready for this. Two Unlimited's appearance on Top of the Pops tonight will be their 11th. They are owners of #1 hits around the globe. No Limits was #1 in 9 countries. The song won gold disc in territories as diverse as Australia, Latin America and the Far East. It must all be a far cry from Ray's former life as a chef. I was a cook at Amsterdam Airport. It was business class though, so I used to see all these successful people coming in and all these planes taking off everywhere. That kept me going. I used to make all these calls to him, and he points at the man carrying a phone, Michel, trying to sort out this deal whilst I was still there. Michel chooses to intervene. He used to be calling me and I'd be able to hear his boss in the background saying, "Get off the phone."
I mean, I had some close friends of mine. It was Quadrophonia. They were quite successful just before Two Unlimited.
Oh, wow,
and they used to pass like every week. They were like, "Hey, Cocky," like Lil Cook. what you cooking? We're on the way to Australia, or we on the way to London or whatever. And I was just cooking steaks and sweating, and I was like, one day I want to fly business class too, and I want to have this life. At that time, it was not even in the air yet. It was, I never really wanted to be an artist, but on schools I was doing a lot of talent shows, and I was always involved with the music. But I thought, like, I was looking up like artists Michael Jackson. I was always looking like, wow, this is the kind of life that I would like to have. But yeah, and then suddenly it came about. I got in contact with a management company, and they were looking for a rapper. This guy played me the demo of Get Ready for This, because it was already out on white label. He was kind of buzzing in the clubs. And so he invited me to the studio, and I started writing the lyrics. And yeah, I think within 2 months it was number 2. It came in number 2 in the UK.
Wow.
And I was in Top of the Pops before I even knew it. So yeah, it just
11 times.
Yeah, we did 11
or maybe
times.
even more often. What was that? Was that how many times you did it?
No, it's 11 times, because actually, like a couple of months ago, I did an item for Top of the Pops. They were interviewing a lot of people like E17, and all these people were, like neighbors of Top of the Pops. And yeah, so it was like, it was just like strange, because suddenly you're there with Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, me there, Elton John, Madonna, so you were just performing with the biggest of the biggest. So it was like a dream come true. And, after Get Ready for This, I thought like, okay, we had a success, and I'm coming back to the kitchen. I thought it was all a dream. I used to be on Smash Hits magazine. But, and then, yeah, before you knew it, it blew up all around the world. And then PWL said, well, we need to follow up. We need to continue. I was like, okay.
And you ended up with 23 singles and 4 albums, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, could you have ever expected that right in the beginning when you did that first single?
No, never. It was still, like I said, like after Get Ready for This, I thought like, okay, we had a success. And, among all these big stars that you were looking up to, and suddenly you see them backstage, dressing room, and talking to them. And it was like, okay, it was kind of weird, and it took a while before that sunk in, because the first album just went, and, suddenly we're in Australia, we're in Japan, even in the States. In 92, we were already in the States. So, at that point, there was really like a world, like totally like devastated, and like, okay, what's going on here,
Yeah. So how was that? Did you ever feel, I know a lot of people, when they reach fame at such a quick speed, they get this whole kind of like an imposter syndrome, where you kind of, for a while, you really feel like you don't belong there, like something's gone wrong, where you go, okay, someone's going to find out in a minute that I'm here, because I'm really not meant to be here. Did you ever get that feeling?
Yes and no, because of course it was like a dream come true, but quite easily I got sucked into this world. I was always traveling. My parents used to have houses in Spain, so I was always. Anita, she never flew before we even went to the UK. So it was the first time she even flew. I was kind of used to, my father was like lavish, and he had this apartment in Spain, so I was a little bit used to that kind of life. So I must say, after a while, I got quite confident to live this life. I think Anita took a little bit longer, because she was not used to, to travel so much and this and that. But it just came, and I took it as it came, and it was quite, because, the management company and the producers around us, they never had this big success. So I had nobody really to teach me how to deal with this kind of world. Even when I came back from the UK, I saw my friends in the coffee shops where we used to play, table football and smoke, of course. And then I came back, and I was like, yeah, I just met Mariah Carey, and I'd be like, yeah, of course. And it was still the same. And I kind of grew very quick. In the music industry, you grow quite kind of quick, especially in the A. I was 19 years old, so,
Wow, so you were about as young as I was then.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I started MTV when I was 18, just before my 19th birthday. Wow.
Yeah.
So did you find, I was talking to Howie B about this the other day, about I got to a stage where I found it quite hard to share my stories with my, everyday friends,
Yeah.
because it got to the point where you felt like you were bragging. So I started to just not share a lot of stories, even though I'd done some really cool things, but I was too embarrassed to tell people. Did you get that at all?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because for you, at a certain point, it became normal. Like you, MTV had all the stars in front of you. So in a certain way, it slips in it that it becomes a little bit normal for you. So so you didn't even always share those stories with your friends, because they were like, okay, you're bragging, or you felt like they would not imagine how it is to be in this kind of life. So like I said, when I came back to Amsterdam, it was like the time stood still, and I was already much further than them, because I was already in 5-star hotels, and already getting used to make money in a weekend that I used to work a whole month for. So you kind of like elevate and just go up. So and that's why it's so nice, because of course we're still touring, and I see all these 90s artists like Snap or Culture Beat, or so with them, or Hathaway. I just was on the phone with Hathaway 2 days ago. We're still in contact, and with those kind of people you can share it, because they all experience the same thing. So they remember the show that we did in there, and so it's kind of more easy to share your thoughts with them and the memories that you share together, because we all were kind of growing up in the same kind of era.
No, exactly. And I think as well, that's probably why me and you hang out, and it's funny, because for years I kept saying, I'm not going to become showbiz. I'm not going to become showbiz. I'm going to have my normal friends, and I don't want to be part of that world. And it really got to the point definitely after X amount of years, where it's almost like it became inevitable. I almost had to start hanging out with other people in the industry, because like you said, they were the only ones who understood. If I basically started to complain and go, oh, I've got to go to Tokyo, really don't want to go, I just want to stay home and cuddle up with the cats and watch a DVD. If I said that to my friends back then, they would think again like, oh yeah, listen to her. But it's like, I genuinely didn't feel like going. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So it definitely, it was nice sometimes that you did end up having a few friends, but I always tried to not get sucked into that life too much, because it also, I mean, there's a lot of superficiality as well, isn't there? Like people hang out with you because you're in a position. Did you ever feel that thing where, you're talking to industry people and they're all nice to you, and at the same time you can see that they're looking over your shoulder to see if there's someone more famous behind you?
For sure.
They should be talking.
It's like you see it even nowadays. If you see the Grammys or the Oscar, when they're on the red carpet, you always see them talking. For example, they talk with some artists and then think like, oh, there is Beyonce coming. So, we need to cut it off, Dua Lipa, for example, because there's a bigger one coming. Or, so it's kind of, you get used to it, but it's also, if it was relationship with girls that you had, you always had back in your mind, like, of course, they would hang out with you because you're Ray from Too Unlimited. Luckily, before I always was popular in school, so I already had a little swing there. So, but of course you always think about it. And, if you would hang out with people like, I was most of the time a little bit E17, I was hanging out with Robbie Williams, so at least you knew they were not with you because of the money, or, because everybody had their own thing and nobody needed anything from anybody. So that was also a big part of the whole thing, so.
Yeah, that's true. So with, I guess your setup was a little bit different with Too Unlimited, because a lot of the kind of like the Euro-Dance acts, you had the producers and then you just had people fronting it. And I think a lot of people thought that you and Anita as well were just literally fronting it and completely irreplaceable, and they could get the next ones. But you actually, so there was the Belgian producers, Jean-Paul de Koster and Phil
de Wilde.
So, but you actually, I mean, you came up with your raps. You even came up with some of the singing parts, right? You were actually part of the creation, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, they asked me to write a rap for Get Ready for This, and I never wrote a rap before. But so when I always say like, it was like God was holding my hand and the pen. Because they asked me for a rap. So they were never thinking about boy, girl, or anything like this. It was just like, we need a rap on this track. I think it could work. And while I was writing a female part. And me, as never writing any song before in my life, That's why I always say it came from up above. It had to be like this. So I wrote a little part for a girl. So I went back to my producer. Yeah, I got the rap finished. I sent him he sent me the cassette tape, and I started writing at my dad's house. And I wrote a chorus too. And I said, I got the rap, but I also got a chorus. And I think it should be a girl singing it, because I cannot sing, so could hardly rap. But, so they say, oh, yeah, so do you know any girl? And I knew Anita from Amsterdam because, I used to hang out in the clubs, and I always saw her there singing because she was more like doing R&B performances. And I was always looking at her. I was kind of in love with her. I was kind of like, oh, maybe we can hang out. So when he said about, do you have any girl singer? I was straight away thinking, I said, hey, that's a good opening for me to get in connection with her. That was actually the whole story about it. I was not thinking about fame, money, to be, nothing like that. I was just like, let me get with her. And I got a nice opening because I got a part. Would you like to, I wrote something. I don't know what's going to come from it, but I need a chorus.
Wow.
I don't know if you're going to do shows or whatever it's going to, but, just a tryout. And we recorded it. And, we sent it back. And they were like, wow, it sounds kind of, and they already had the working title 2 Unlimited, and here it comes, it's 2 people, 2 Unlimited. So it just fitted like, like a hand in a glove. So it had to be like this, and
wow.
Then of course, because Pete Waterman was the one, he used to have the show in Manchester, The Hitman and Her, at the Royals.
That was still going back then? Oh my God.
Yeah, well, that's actually where, he used to play the biggest tracks that were hot in the clubs. Yeah. And Get Ready for This was there on the white label in the DJ pool circulating around. So he picked up this track and he was trying to find out, well, this track is, that time they released Kylie Minogue, Jason Donovan, and, more the poppy kind of stuff. And he picked it up and suddenly he said, well, he called my producer probably and said like, yo, we need to sign this, and my producer was like, oh, the big Pete Waterman, because of course, Stock Aitken and Waterman, world famous, many hits, Rick Astley, go on and on. And then, it just, he just signed it. And then I thought it was a great idea to have 2 people. And of course, we were both half black, half white, so it fitted also like this. I had already the strange dress going on. And she was, of course, very beautiful girl. And so the whole image of I think 2 Unlimited really changed the image of, because that time, of course, you had the Prodigy already, you had 808 Stage, you had a lot of bands, the Shaman, that were quite popular, but it was more like a DJ kind of thing. You had people, it was nothing like you put a poster on the wall. Right. And I think with 2 Unlimited, you had like an image with it, and the kids have something, the girls, and they're kind of like this guy, and the guys like, so I think we paved the way in the visual that suddenly, you've been smash hits and all that stuff. And then, of course, a lot of these bands started like 24/7. And, Snap was a little bit before us. And, I used to love Snap. I used to love the power. And I think it was 89. I was in the army. And now Turbo he's a very good friend of mine. I mean, I see him sometimes at the shows. He lives in Orlando. And it's just strange that, you're looking up, like Michael Jackson. I was looking up to Michael Jackson. I met him in Monte Carlo at the World Music Awards. There's still on YouTube, there's a video where he's sitting next to Prince Albert and we're doing No Limit. And he's just like swinging. And I met him backstage. And he came from the stairs. I will never forget this moment. He came from the stairs and I was like stuck. Because, I mean, that time, No Limit, we were already, globetrotters around the world. I mean, it was not, if we're going to have a hit, it's going to be, okay, what number are we going to enter in the charts? You're already on that level now.
Right.
So, I already met all the greatest in the world. So for me, and it was kind of cool. But the day that I knew Michael Jackson would be there, it was like Christmas. It was like, I was so nervous, and then he came, he shook my hand and said, I really like your song. And for me, it was like a hold his hand full. It was like, what? I said, man, you don't even know. You like my song. You don't even know, man. I used to go to your concert. And that was, I was always thinking, I went with my mom and I was thinking like, if I want to be an artist, it's got to be like this. So nowadays also, if you see our costumes that we have now, it's all inspiration by Michael Jackson. It's the bling and the leather and, and that always kept me in mind. And so that's a crazy thing,
It always comes back, right? And the fashion comes back.
For sure.
Yeah. So do you think, of course, at the time, a lot of people were making fun of you guys, going, no, there's no lyrics, whatever, right? Just saying.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm wondering if in a way that was the strength, because I also hear people say about ABBA, the fact that they weren't from an English speaking country. They said their lyrics were almost simple enough for people to sing along. Do you think that was actually part of the strength, that you were not from an English speaking country? You started to make these raps and it was simple for everyone to just sing along from other countries that weren't English speaking?
Yeah, for sure. Also, but it's of course, that time you had the credible magazines, like the NME, talking about, a lot of people say, oh, the two Danish from, they didn't even know. I think we also put Amsterdam on the map. I mean, everybody knew about Amsterdam, you can smoke weed and everything, but they were always making fun of it. Or the Rolling Stone, we had the interview, and then when I saw the interview, I was really pissed off, because it was like, yeah, okay, it's simple, no, but you got to you have to come up with it,
Right.
So it's easier said than done. And I remember one time the Prodigy was, because we were always nominated for the MTV Awards, Best Dance Act, and we always lost from the Prodigy, always. And I was like, what? I mean, we're more on MTV than the Prodigy. They play our video like every second, and so again, we lost it. And then one time they were writing like, we are credible rave house music, and we're not like Too Unlimited, like this carnival kind of music. And one time I met them. I mean, they became nice friends later on. But one time I just went to them and said like, oh, you talking shit about me? Huh? No, Ray, it was just fun. And, because I was not shy at that time. So, I confronted them with it. But, I mean, it's also a thing, successful. If you're successful and you're, a lot of people always say like, even the guys because I used to be into the hip hop scene, like LL Cool J, Run DMC, Public Enemy. So all my friends were too. So they say, hey, you're a sellout. And I always said like, and it was true. I mean, I think we didn't go mainstream. The public just turned on us and it just became commercial, because Get Ready for This, that time it was kind of underground. It was not a song that you would hear on the radio. So it was kind of underground. So I always said like, yeah, the public turned it into a commercial thing, Pop is popular
and I
music.
guess, and like you said, I mean, you guys became like the whole package. You became the ones who, I think I've got a clip somewhere with a poster of you guys in Smash Hits or something. I'll show it you in a minute.
Popular commercial, yeah.
So you were talking about the MTV award. So did you get an MTV award, or did you never get one?
No, we never got it. Yeah.
So the funny thing is, my mom actually has an MTV award. She actually has one of the Prodigy MTV awards, because one year they won 3 or 4, I don't know how many they won.
Something like this.
And so my mom went up to Leroy and went, "Oh, come on, Leroy, you got 3 of them. Surely you can give one to me." And he went, "Okay." So my mom still has the Prodigy MTV award in her house.
That's dope. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was funny. Okay, so let me play another clip for you.
Melody Maker, 14th of May, 1994. Ray is something of a party animal. I don't want to sleep when I'm in a new city. I can go around a club chatting to strangers, so I don't have a problem going out on my own. Ray lists his favourite clubs as idols in South Africa. One of the dance floors was reserved for us. One of the DJs said, all the girls who want to dance with Ray can go upstairs. There were about 20 girls waiting for me.
Sure. I mean, we used to party, man. We used to party. I mean, nowadays I don't hang out too much, but back in the days I had so much energy. I wasn't even on drugs, I was smoking weed and drink champagne or whatever, but I had so much energy. It was always, for me, of course, Anita, she needed her sleep, but for me, after the show is the after party, and after the party is the next party. And, next day, 6 o'clock, get on the plane. And for me, it was just a regular, I was always excited, what new clubs I'm going to come into, what girls I met. Of course, I kind of like that thing, and shopping so it was, for me, it was never a dull moment. It was a big adventure for me, so.
So did you never burn out at the time?
No, not really. Not really.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I was so exciting, so excited. Yeah. So I think that's where the energy used to come from. I could drink like 2 bottles of Bacardi or something, and then the party just started. If I would drink now a couple of Bacardis, I need to go to sleep.
I know, same here. It's like it's over. 2 glasses of wine.
You're on the couch, fell out.
But I'm glad we did it back then, right? I mean, it's good to kind of get all that stuff out of your system and and something to look back on for sure. Wow. So, so you said with you and Anita, you said in the beginning you kind of fancied her, and that's why you got her to sing on the track. So how was that when you guys were actually working together? I mean, were you guys seeing each other very briefly in the beginning? You were, weren't you?
Oh yeah, we were. Yeah,
right.
For sure. From the first moment we went to the UK, I had a relationship, she had a relationship, and the first weekend we went, we had a thing together. And so we came back, and she also said to me, like, don't look at me when we arrive, because my boyfriend, he will notice straight away that we got something going on. And but I was, for me in my head, I already was finished with my girlfriend, because I said I want to be with you. And she left the boyfriend too. So in the beginning we were a couple. And then it started to go crazy, going to the clubs, doing shows, girls throwing the panties on the stage. And I was like, I don't want to be in a relationship anymore. I want to have fun.
So how was that then? That must have been quite difficult. I mean, they always say, don't date on the job. So how was that? Because you guys were together all the time.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So how was that dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, on the end, after, of course, I enjoyed life and I was doing my thing. But afterwards we came back again. So it was kind of on and on. But then after we decided, like, this doesn't function anymore. So, we really need to make a decision. And we decided just to part ways personally, so not be a couple anymore. And then after it grew out to be like more like a brother and sister relationship, because same as, of course, the people outside or your friends that don't experience the same thing that you do. Of course, Anita and myself, we experienced exactly the same thing. So we knew exactly the same thing, how we felt when we had a headache or when we didn't feel good. And you can basically say the only time we didn't work together is when we had to go to the toilet, because for the rest of the time, you're always together. If there was a photo shoot or an interview, so you kind of were like Siamese twin, so you're always stuck together. So, but I think we kind of, it was also, I think, a savior for us to have somebody around that you can always share your problems with or your things, because you knew exactly how you felt that way, and it was kind of difficult to share. I was calling my parents all the time, but even that, after... You
hear the parents in the background? Yeah. I'm in the tropics.
You're in the Belize, right?
I'm in Belize.
Yes, I've never been there. Still on my list. But,
so,
okay, I'm coming. So, so it was kind of, I think it was... a positive and a negative thing, but I think mostly positive, because otherwise we couldn't have done it for such a long time, and it really helped each other, So on the end, you became family, and I knew her truly. She knew me. So when we had an interview or we're doing something, we just had to look at each other like, okay, we knew exactly how we want to roll with it, or so. Yeah, in a way, I think on both ways it helps each other just to be, as a band together. So,
And so then, you guys broke up. Then many years later, you kind of got together again, 2009, I think it was, right? So was that when, because at one point there was you had a bit of a problem where, was it Jean-Paul de Coster who didn't want you to use the name Too Unlimited for a while, and then that got resolved? Is that right?
Yeah, well, actually we had a big court case against Jean-Paul. Of course, you sold so many records, and of course, a lot of money came in. But at a certain point, of course, my accountants start counting, and we thought they still owed us some royalties that were, not paid or anything. And so we had a court case literally for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
But 15 years. So I was living in Monte Carlo for 11 years. And this court case, that was the end of my, I spent all my money on this court case. because I really believed in it. And, so after 11 years, I had to leave Monaco because you have to have a certain amount of money to stay there. Even though Prince Albert was a good friend of mine, but he said, okay, I can do nothing for you. So, I had to leave, but I had a great time there. And then we wanted to perform again, so we did a show. We sold 43,000 tickets in Belgium. It's funny because I'm doing this show again in 2 months in Belgium. And, and it was only one-off show because it was like, I wasn't doing anything much anymore with Too Unlimited. She was still performing. So she went to the UK. She did Butlin. She did kind of shows. And I was like, no, or I want to be on the big stage again. But I don't want to be in clubs and trying to be like the forgotten artist and trying to, so I was like, I was missing it, of course, but I was like, I'm cool, or I'm going to go to the big level. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So when we get a chance to perform at this big show and we sold out so many tickets, end of the show, we're just talking. It's like, yo, I think we should go again. But then we couldn't use the name because we had a court case. So we were going out as Ray and Anita, which is not chic. Okay, in Holland, it was normal because, Ray and Anita was even more popular than Too Unlimited because for Dutch people, it's like, oh, it's Ray and Anita, it's Too Unlimited.
Yeah.
So so then we started to talk with the producer. He owed us some money, and I wanted to get the name back because I was like, if you go to Japan and you say Ray and Anita, they said like who? So I just wanted to get the name back. The legacy that we built up together, also with the producers, and we kind of sorted it out. We made a deal. So and then we were back as Too Unlimited, and that was the most one of the precious moments to come back with my own name because I felt like it was my name. I was not the owner of the name, but it's the brand that fits you.
Right. Well, and like like we were saying before, I mean, you really were an integral part of the creation of all of it.
Oh, for sure.
So in hindsight, do you regret that you guys didn't just sit down together sooner instead of like spending money on court cases and stuff? Could it maybe have been resolved?
Oh, personally? For sure. But, I was stubborn at the time. I opened my own, I launched my own record label, production company, and my own artist. So I was like, and, I just wanted to get what I want, so we were not really on speaking terms.
Right.
So, it was kind of heart to heart.
But I think as well, if I remember right, back then, I mean, you went through a real phase after Too Unlimited where it seemed to me like you had a lot of hanger-ons and just not very good people around. Sure. Everybody was trying to suck you dry, right? I mean, it just that's how it seemed from where I was standing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess some people must have been talking to you as well, going, "Do this, do that. Oh, you can do it. Fight him."
No, for sure. Of course, you always have a big crowd behind you, and I remember I used to travel with 4 or 5 guys, and just paying for everybody. Business class to New York, 5 credit cards. Let's party, let's go. It doesn't stop. And that's why nowadays I'm really I got 3 kids now. I got a couple of friends, but real close. Yeah. But my heart is kind of closed for this kind of, because I've been through to all of that. So and I don't regret it, because people, you don't feel that they used you. Well, maybe I used them too for the company because, I don't want to sound like it's emotional, but you get lonely on the road. It's true because you're in a bubble, so you're always trying to get people around you, never a dull moment, no time to think about that you're alone or whatever. So, that's also part of it. So, I don't regret it. I mean, I lost everything after that, So, and then afterwards, of course, all the friends are gone. When the money was gone, the friends were gone. Yeah. And I learned a lot from that. And it's just a blessing that I came back and that I'm, okay, now the corona, of course, but normally we do still like 100 shows. And, I'm a better person. I'm 50 years old, so I'm a little bit more smarter to keep my money, because back in the days, I could have bought 10 houses in Spain, but I didn't have time. Now I got my house in Spain. I live in Germany, and everything is kind of, so I had the second chance, and I'm really happy for this, So, not many people, I think a lot of people who would experience what I went through, they would already jump from the roof because it's kind of hard, if you spend like 100,000 quid a month easily on whatever, I don't know, and to come back to almost nothing, so it was kind of a hard time, but it was a good lesson, and I learned a lot from it. So I'm more confident now in everything that I do, and I'm more happy also.
But so how did you get through that period? Because it must have been quite a dark period then, to go from that to that, like your money's gone, your friends have disappeared. I mean, was it like, how did you get out of that? How did you move on?
Yeah, no, well, for me, I was always a positive person, and that was the thing. I was always like, you're going to come back, you're going to come back. I was talking to, even my mom, she didn't believe it. I don't have contact with my mom. It's a really sad story, but her boyfriend was my accountant, and afterwards I found out money was gone, and they also stole from me, and she was like, yeah, you're not gonna make it anymore. And my father was there on the other hand, like, Ray, keep going, you will be back. He's now living in Spain in my house, so he's cool. It's a little reward that he got. But that kept me going. It just kept me going to be like, stay positive. If you did it before, you can do it again. And
right.
Yeah, I mean, that just kept me going. And afterwards, made a good deal with a producer, paid all my debts, because of course debts come. And so I came out of it, and in a positive way.
So what advice would you give any of you, if any of your children decided to walk this path and go into showbiz and music? I don't know if any of them are thinking that, but what advice would you give them?
Yeah, my son is 25. He's 24/7 in the studio. He got a home studio. He's doing more like rap stuff, so he's always working. And it's also a different time. I don't want to sound like an old man. I mean, those are different times, because we were making music. We were never making music for the money or to be famous, and that's why all these 90s hits, it's like Motown back in the days, everything came from the heart, but nowadays we want to have a hit, to have the Rolex, to have the BMW, it's a different kind of vibe, how they trying to get into the music business. And for us, we just did what we felt. And I was not thinking, okay, I'm going to make this hit, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy this. No, you didn't think about this kind of things. So for me, the best advice would I also tell them is like, stay the closest to yourself, because all the stuff will come afterwards. But if you have a vision and you want to do something creative, it's got to be from the heart, and it's got to be something that you feel comfortable with, and not for the wrong reasons. Because
exactly. I always feel that if you just follow your heart and you really you do the best that you can do, that whatever comes your way, it'll come your way. The success will come, whatever. Those are more kind of, how do I say it? It's almost like the side effects. But to me, it's like, if you just keep doing what you love doing and you do it as well as you can, that's it. And then the rest.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine actually reversing it and trying to do something thinking, dollar signs. I can't. Do you really think that that's how a lot of the people now think? That they start with the back thing of, we want this result?
I think so.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, because I never wanted to be famous. I mean, I loved like performing, or to see, look at the artists, but I was never thinking about, I wanted to be a cook, and I wanted to be, for me, success says a lot. And with success, of course, comes money, comes, liberty, that you can do what you want to do. And that's the most important thing. And of course, even if you want to be a lawyer or you want to be a doctor, you have a certain, I want to earn this kind of money per month. And you study for this. But, you cannot study to be an artist. You can just try to do something that you feel. Yeah. And it's with everything that I did with Too Unlimited. If it was the dance, the famous dance for Nolan, it was nothing that I've written out. It was just like, okay, the camera's rolling. It was not like the night before I was okay, I'm going to do this dance. No, we were at the video shoot, the music went on, and it just came up with this thing, which now is, when we at the show and people are dancing like, no, and it was like, how did you come up with this? I said, I don't know. I just came with what felt with the music, and that's how we wrote the songs. So we had a demo, and I just wrote down what I felt with the music without any double agenda or.
What comes to mind now when you're talking about the dance and stuff as well. There was an old video where the Rolling Stones, they were still quite a new band, and they were on this TV show, and Little Richard was on before them, and so Little Richard was doing his dance, and you could see. Mick Jagger is kind of looking at him, and then Mick Jagger went on, and you could see that he was trying to mimic what Little Richard was doing, but it didn't quite come out right because he's like, this gangly white guy.
Yeah, he didn't have
that
solo.
instantly became like his signature, the thing that he does, the whole move. And it was so funny how, like you said, it wasn't something thought out. He just looked and went, "Oh, that's cool. I'm going to do that too." And it just comes out, and it became.
No, for sure.
It became Mick Jagger,
Yeah.
So
it's the same like this guy from Boney M. He passed away. Was a good friend of mine, Bobby. I mean, he also, if you look at the dance that he was doing, it's like, what's wrong with you? Are you kind of stumbling? And I had the same thing. Sometimes when I look back at videos, like, man, come on, man. I think it's much better. It's more controlled now when I perform now. But sometimes when I look at the videos, I'll be like, okay, you were kind of wild.
So did you guys ever make it in the United States? Did you ever become big in America?
Not as successful as in Europe and the UK. But it was, get ready for this. They still play at the NBA nowadays. It's still the anthem.
Right.
So it's still there. And Get Ready for This came number 34 in the Billboard charts in the Hot 100. And for the rest, all our songs was like in the dance scene. Because that time, MTV was playing either or rock or rap. So the dance music was not so popular back then. But everybody knew the songs. But it was also the only place where I could, because I love to go to LA and New York for shopping. It was kind of the only place where I could just walk on the street without anybody recognize me. Or it should be some people from Europe be like, "Hey, it's too limited." But for the rest, I was just another, and that's why I was a lot in LA back in the days, because, I just could go there. Because, it used to go crazy. You used to come to the airport and there were like hundreds of fans just running around. And, and in Amsterdam, they were quite cool because, Dutch people were kind of down to earth. But, so in the States, the success was there, but it was not like that we were on MTV every day or something like this.
No,
so it was
not like back in Europe.
No, not like back in Europe. Yeah.
There was this quote about how you were voted as the 4th coolest person in the UK or in the world, I think, at that point by Select magazine. I think you were just behind Kylie at the time. And they said, some people are born cool and some have got coolness thrust upon them. And they said with you that your moment came when you suddenly went, techno, 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 techno. And they were like, and that was it. It just became like the thing. So do people still shout that at you sometimes?
Oh yeah, for sure. Most definitely, most definitely at the shows, of course. But I could be in the supermarket. I live in Düsseldorf. It's not so far from Holland. I still go to the Dutch supermarket, and because I like that. And especially when I'm there, you hear people shouting that thing at you. It's kind of a significant kind of thing. But it's the same thing, how we used to record. It was like you had the rap and then, okay, let the track run for a couple of times and I would just shout some things. And it's also a thing that just came about, like techno. It's just like, people like, how do you come up to it? I don't know. It was, the tape was on and it was just like, it just came about, So it's, that's funny how things can be a phrase that follows you for life, So.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, hey Ray, listen, it's so lovely to see you. And yes, do come to Belize.
Yeah,
come and hang out in the jungle one day.
For sure. Yeah, most definitely.